All right, welcome to the Prefab Review podcast. I'm Michael Frank from Prefab Review and very excited to be talking to Alexis Rivas. Is it Rivas from
Yeah,
Cover?
Rivas, yeah.
I've known about Cover for a long time, but this is honestly the first time me and Alexis have ever spoke. So I'll be learning the nuances of Cover and their business along with you. Uh, Alexis, it would be great to just hear a little bit about Cover. And again, we have computer screens here. So if at some point you want me to jump to the Cover website so we can walk through visuals, happy to do that as well. But thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Michael. So we started Cover in 2014. My co-founder and I started Cover in 2014, and our mission is to make better homes for everyone, thoughtfully designed, well-built homes for everyone. And prefab isn't a new idea. We've looked at a lot of companies that have tried to solve this problem before, and one of the big opportunities we saw was to actually do a ground up redesign of the process and the home itself to be geared towards manufacturability and rapid assembly from the start. And so that's what we're doing at Cover. It's a complete ground up redesign of the whole process. It's an all steel panelized building system. And most of what we've built has been custom. When we talk custom, it's like custom floor plans,
Mhm.
and they're built on a production line here at our factory, and then assembled on site. So the panels remain in the factory, shipped flat pack on a regular truck, no big cranes needed, and then rapidly assembled on site. And we're currently serving Southern California.
That's awesome. Makes total sense. So one of the sort of things I think about is what parts of the process do you do? So it sounds like you definitely do the design, you do the panels, you do the frame. Um, like it sounds like you do the full shell of the house. I see you have on your website like a CSLB contractor, like Class B or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Um, does that mean are you general contracting on the project once it hits site as well?
yeah. So we can do it all. So we do design, engineering, permitting as well with the city
Mhm.
interaction, getting
Right.
the permits back and forth, all that stuff. Very fun.
Yeah.
And then manufacturing on the production line,
Yeah.
transportation, and then yes, the installation too. So we are the general contractor, and we will also manage. And depending on the scope, if it's a simple foundation, we'll do it ourselves. If it's a multi-complex foundation, we will subcontract it out, but we'll manage it for the
Yeah,
homeowner.
all general contractors are sort of paper general contractors to some extent, right? Like I assume, right? Like someone else will come in and do any
No,
or
we
whatever.
actually do it like it is our own staff.
Oh,
Other
so
than
you guys will actually have your staffs doing the electrical, the plumbing, the mechanical, the solar
yes,
on site, etc.
yeah, the only stuff like sometimes we'll sub out is grading
Hmm.
and more complex foundation work.
Right, right. You guys aren't doing like crazy drilling or stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. We were not going to do like a deep pile foundation.
Right.
We've done projects like that, but it's always with subcontractor partners.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. And honestly, like what I see, I have a couple close friends who work for I don't know if you know about like the sort of the way like the Larry Pages of the world build projects. They have like builder rep services that essentially like manage the architect plus general contractor. And I think like 90% of the time the general contractors they hire in those situations are actually like even less scaled, more scaled down than you because they're just trying to hire like the top subs in each of the verticals. So that makes sense for sure.
Yeah, we're very vertically integrated. The people who install these covers on site are full-time employees with, healthcare,
Right.
with some ownership in the company. It's our team.
Cool. Nice. Interesting. So I guess one of the questions, and this is partly like my sort of startup-y person hat, and partly the consumer is like a lot of times startups are like, hey, we want to innovate at this one part, and we want to do that better than everyone else. And sort of parts that are more commoditized, we don't. Why is it important that you guys actually go, totally vertical and take on the sort of whole stack, including, right, things like right electrical or siding or waterproofing, which again, to an uneducated person like me, might seem like they're sort of more standardized parts of the process.
I mean, yeah, it's a result of our goal, which is to, make better homes faster.
Yeah.
right? And
The
at scale.
coordination, like not having to
So
worry about labor shortages, stuff like that.
yeah, I mean, well, so there's labor shortages with the coordination. If your average conventional home has 24 different subcontractors,
Hmm.
right? That's a big part of why it's expensive, time consuming, and unpredictable in terms of quality. With us, we have our way of doing things. We have quick connections on site. It's designed in a very specific way to go together very fast,
Hmm.
and our team knows how to put that together best.
Hmm.
And the other part of it, the vertical integration, is our technicians that are doing the assembly on site. They are providing feedback directly to the engineers responsible for the product. So they say, "Hey, this was difficult to assemble. Can you make this easier?" And this is the iteration of the product and how we've been able to make it so much faster over the years have been through this very very tight feedback loop between the installation on site and the engineering team and the production team here. Um, and sometimes it's as simple as millimeters. Hey, all these panels were a millimeter too big. If they were a millimeter under, it would have fit together so much better. Can you look into that change?
Hmm.
Even small things like that make a really big difference. So by being vertically integrated, we're able to have a better feedback loop, which results in changes to the product at a rapid pace, and at the end of the day, a faster and better end result.
Got it. That makes sense. We've done hundreds of homes with our clients via our concierge service. I like try to actively always build a personal residence at all times. So I just finished a ski house, and yeah, it felt like even on site we had like, even though like there was a consolidation of contractors in the factory, on site we had like a whole different set of people, and some communication issues as a result. So I can understand how that would be streamlined. Okay, so that all makes sense to me. What else? Are there other things? And I'll pull up some video of your homes. I don't think I've actually ever seen a cover in person, but they look beautiful and modern. Are there other things specifically beyond the process that makes your homes feel distinct or different than other homes?
Oh yeah, there's a ton. Um, yeah, I mean, you can check out this page. I mean, this is a full size single family home kitchen.
Hmm.
This is cool. It shows that with the same steel panels, you can design many different homes.
Hmm.
And this is really key because it is prefab, but unlike a lot of other prefab builders, most of what we've done is custom, not models. So
Right.
the actual, floor plans are for the most part unique,
Totally.
using the same panel. It's really like Legos, and I
Hmm.
think that this video, shows how that Lego system works.
That makes
And
sense.
then if you go down all the way to the bottom, the footer,
Mhm.
and you go to the fire rebuild page, and you scroll all the way to the bottom of that page, this is like all the way to the bottom. Yeah. So I think this gives you a good idea, right? These are some of the homes that we've built. Joshua Tree, that one in Beverly Hills. You've got the factory, you've got the machinery, and then you can see their panels, right? These
Mhm.
panels are flat packed and then rapidly assembled to make the home.
Does
Um,
does that mean your homes are financed conventionally versus needing modular housing financing?
yeah, it's not like a manufactured home. It's
Right, but
it's
so
yeah,
sometimes what we have to deal with for clients with us is right. They're sort of kit builders, right? Where just because of the draw schedule, it means that it's more like a conventional construction loan, which right are widely available, and then right like the sort of high-end modular people. I don't
right.
know. Well, there's still people who finance them like Umpqua, et cetera. But because the draw schedule is a little different in terms of more upfront, it ends up being a little more complicated.
Yeah, we haven't run into any issues there with financing. I mean, most of our clients have very good credit scores, and
Right.
and
This is a
they're
premium
quite.
product. Yeah.
It's a premium product. They're easy to underwrite. So we've never really encountered that as a problem. It might be the drawdown schedule. Yeah.
Cool. So I guess one question that comes to mind, well, I guess I have two questions. One, so again, the last time I talked to you, you all were doing ADUs, and I think I don't even know if you were covering Santa Monica and Malibu at that time.
I think it was literally just LA City
But it's
use.
probably
Yeah.
LA City. And now you're doing single family homes as well, right? And you're doing right most of Southern California, it sounds like.
Correct.
Uh, why the change?
Yeah. So historically, we were extremely focused and narrow set. This page, just to say it, is like way underpopulated, and we only have 3 projects in here right
Sure.
now.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, we're working on getting more, but we really wanted to get the photography done and the
Yeah.
curation. We actually got lots of good photos. It's the time to do the write-ups and the floor plans. If you check back on this page in like a month, you'll see more, and
All right.
we'll keep adding to it.
We'll add a link. Cool.
Yeah. Um, so most prefab companies they start off with like a much wider range, and we try to take a very different strategy, almost the opposite, and say let's be as focused and as narrow as possible for as long as possible, so that we could really nail the process before we try scaling it. Right.
Mhm.
So the focus was like get the process right before scaling it, and so that's why we're focused on LA City ADUs only for a long time. In 2024, last year, we expanded to all of Southern California, and we kind of quietly sold to people that reach out to us full size single family homes last year, and now we're more public around it, and we're selling
Yeah, I
single
mean,
family homes.
I'm sure you guys, everyone, I feel like in the space is getting crushed with demand for at least people interested in fire rebuilds to your point. So I'm sure there's an active market there.
Yeah, exactly. And so now we're doing both, but really it came down to like, was the system ready to scale? And for a long time, we thought that it was worth focusing on iterating and improving the process rather than scaling.
Hmm.
And that's why we historically didn't expand earlier.
Hmm.
In 2024, we broke our record twice. The first time, it's actually this project that you see at the top here, this 2 bed, 2 bath
Hmm.
project. You can click on it and go into it. It's one of my favorites. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
Cool foundation.
and thank you. So that one, the previous one, we
Yeah.
built in 3 weeks
Hmm.
on site.
Hmm.
So that was an internal record for us. And then we also built one. This one we haven't professionally photographed yet. We built one late last year and started right after Thanksgiving and wrapped up
Gotcha.
just
Yeah.
before Christmas. And we built this one in record time,
Hmm.
and that was from permit submittal to certificate of occupancy, 104 days.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah, which is actually based on the public records we could find, the fastest new ADU in LA City ever.
Right. Because I mean, they have 60 days to give comments typically, right? So
I mean,
uh,
if they follow
right, right,
state
right.
law,
That's
but
it. They
always do.
follow the HCD. I don't know how you guys deal with this, but HCD we find is actually pretty helpful.
They're good.
So we
I actually had a call with them half an hour ago.
yeah, we haven't dealt with them with LA specifically, but we have done a lot with them with like kind of tonier localities of NorCal, which have sometimes have a hard time upholding those timelines. But that's really impressive. So does that mean you got like permitting done in basically, I don't even know, for 104
We
days?
got permits in under a month.
Yeah,
We
that's
got
still
permits in
really
under a
impressive
month.
that you were able to, yeah, get everything done that quickly.
Yeah, under a month, and then it was right around Thanksgiving, so it took a little longer than normal to mobilize. And then we built it in 45 days.
Wow.
That includes the foundation, that includes the site work, the utility trenching, even demolition, like even some tree removal and demolition of a shed. So all of that to
Yeah,
basically the finished product, 45 days.
that's awesome.
And then it took another couple of weeks for certificate of occupancy. So, you look
Right.
at 104 days start to finish. So in short, the reason I'm bringing this up is like we really focused on delivering like an incredibly efficient process
Hmm.
before we said, let's scale this up.
Hmm.
And that's why now we're scaling it up because we've got something that really works well.
Hmm. That's awesome. The biggest question we get, and honestly, like it's just reflective of we have a lot of pricing pages on our site. What does pricing end up looking like on and I assume it'll probably go down a little bit on uh, a single family home, like bathrooms are expensive and kitchens are expensive on like a
Yeah.
dollar per square foot basis. But so anyway, everyone says there's a gazillion variables, et cetera, et cetera. So let's just assume that like we found this like mythical like 2,000 square foot flat urban infill lot in Santa Monica, independent of that piece of land being incredibly expensive. But like basically, if it was relatively close to your factory and right utilities basically on site and nothing crazy to do on the site, how would like pricing break down for something that was let's say 3 bedrooms, 2,000 square feet or something like that?
Yeah. It does really depend. most of what we've built historically has been custom layouts, right?
Yeah,
So in terms of a process, we don't have
totally.
models. I mean, we can show you plans we've done before. Maybe someone likes it and they want that
Yeah,
exact
yeah.
same thing again. But for the most part, what we've done is custom.
Hmm.
And so we have sometimes have clients where they want the giant sliding windows
Totally,
and,
right.
and, and all the bells and whistles.
What I'm just looking for is not to like pigeonhole you on a cost that people give you shit about later, but just like what is the range of cost people can expect for projects?
Yeah, I mean, for something like that, um, you're probably looking somewhere between 1 million and 1.5 million installed.
Right.
Like, and that includes the transportation, the equipment, like
Right.
everything,
So
right?
just to be clear,
Well,
we're talking so we had I think we had Toby Long on a couple weeks ago and we were talking about fire rebuilds. He's like a kind of a notable modular architect and he was talking about the cost of modular and he was saying 600 to 800 a square foot was sort of the sweet spot he saw for high end stuff. So I think what you're saying is 500 to $750 a square foot for, again, probably comparably stuff. So that doesn't sound
yeah,
crazy. Honestly,
it's
that's
not
a
crazy.
little, that sounds a little low for LA compared to,
Like I said, it also
yeah.
depends, right? Like we are currently building a much smaller unit. It's not a full size home, but that one's gonna be over 1,000 square foot because of
Mhm.
the size combined with like the finishes, and like this ADU has more giant sliding windows than your typical
Right. Hmm.
mansion,
Hmm.
right? It's like almost all
Right.
glass, right?
It's,
There's a huge range, right? It's a huge range, and it really does depend. And the thing is, we can get that upfront pricing and fixed pricing with the client pretty quickly once they reach out to us, right? We can
right.
go through some designs and see if you're able to fit or not. We can do that pretty quickly.
One of the things we see is we actually even see like pretty significant variance in these kind of micro markets, if that makes sense. Meaning like trying to build something in San Francisco is going to be considerably more expensive than a few hundred miles away. But that's because the like cost of living is highly variant. Does that mean your pricing is actually more uniform regardless of where you build because of the full-time staff? Does
Um,
that make sense as a question?
It's the transportation and mostly like the installation cost does go up the further you go from our factory. So
Right.
for Palisades, for Altadena, people would be commuting. They're not going to be staying in a hotel or something or
Right, right,
Airbnb. So the cost would be the same as building locally because it is
right.
local.
Whereas if they're going to Ventura or something,
Yeah, Ventura, like that'll add some to the cost,
mhm.
right? I mean, it's gonna be say a month of hotel for like a
Right,
crew of 6 to 8 people, so that adds to the cost. But it is still our crew,
hmm.
right? So
Totally.
we can guarantee the labor availability and that from a timeline standpoint, the
Right.
fact that it's there isn't going to impact the timeline because it's our same people that know how to build our system.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's all cool. So let's talk about permitting in LA. I've only followed you on Twitter a little bit, but it seems to at least be a sort of, I don't know, an interest area. Um, how do I want to approach this? All right, beyond the like annoyances with permitting everywhere, which is a whole thing, and right, obviously there's like kind of projects that we've seen go through in San Jose in like days and projects we've seen in other, as I said, suburbs where it's honestly just hard to find someone from planning to pick up the phone or whatever. Um, Beyond that, what are like, it sounds like you guys have been highly effective on some of these projects and getting them through. Are there best practices? Like, are you still like everyone says use an expediter for stuff, right? Which again, I assume usually means you don't have the local connection yourself and you're just kind of paying someone, thousands of dollars to kind of bug people. But yeah, what are your best practices for kind of actually effectively navigating this stuff?
For straightforward single family home projects on like flat lots, not in coastal, we usually don't engage an expediter. We
Mhm.
have strong connections within the LA area,
Right.
LA area, Ventura County.
Mhm.
We've got good connections to city councilors,
Mhm.
sometimes the mayors in the different cities in the LA area.
Mhm.
So we don't typically engage. Now, if it's a more complex project or like a coastal project,
Mhm.
um, we typically engage an expediter just because that deep expertise and those extra connections for the specialty departments it
Mhm.
tend to really help.
Right. And it's a trivial
Uh,
cost in terms of time and money relative to
yeah, yeah, especially relative to those
right,
project
right, totally.
scopes, right, and sizes. I mean, so like we probably
Multi-million
would say,
dollar project and thousands of dollars of expediter costs.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So it's worth it in those cases, and we
Mhm.
engage and we have good expedited partners. But for the most part, we've got really strong relationships with
Mhm.
different uh, uh, city officials and then also the governor's office and HCD. So
Yeah.
yeah,
One
I
of
mean, in terms
yeah,
of best
what
practices,
are there other secrets to trying to get because again, like it sounds like your guys' luck or I don't know, like it doesn't sound like luck. Skill in getting this stuff through has been really is it just understand where to send the paperwork basically and be really effective at that or
part of it is practice, right? I mean, we've
yeah.
built dozens of these,
Mhm.
specifically these in like LA City, for example, right?
Right.
We've done it a lot. We know what to expect, and uh, and we just kind of submit a set that's compliant to begin with,
Hmm.
right? So knowing your stuff really helps, and then follow up. But I will say, like, under a month is not average.
Right.
We've also had times where the city's been in clear violation of state law.
Hmm.
And in fact, like in some cases, almost 6 months for an ADU even.
Right.
So we've been able to get some projects through very quickly, but it's not consistent.
Hmm. One of the things that I thought was interesting that we've done some steel frame homes, but it's certainly not the standard at this point. Why was doing steel frame homes important for you in terms of thinking about? Because it sounds like that is standard for you.
And it's been standard from the
Mhm.
very beginning. Um, we approached the problem from a kind of blank slate. We didn't say, here's conventional construction, let's do it in factory. We said, this is what a home needs to do. This is how it
Right.
needs to perform. It needs to be, energy efficient, safe. It needs to go together quickly, and it needs to be made in a factory. How should it be made? And when we asked that question and we dug into it, the answer was actually steel. And it was for us, it was obvious once we dug into it. And it's light gauge steel. And there's a lot of reasons. The first is actually safety, right? We're in Cal, we knew that we were going to start in California, and we're still in California. And seismic is really big, and
Mm.
it's steel. Light gauge steel is phenomenal for seismic because it's lightweight and it's incredibly strong,
Mhm.
right? So that's one thing. Then you got the fires. We've been building in wildfire urban interface zones
Right.
for years now, and it helps, right? All the finishes also help there.
Mhm.
And then the third reason actually is it's to do with the manufacturability, right? If you look at the number of tools and processes and equipment that's available to working with steel at high volumes, and you compare that to wood, it's like there's no comparison. I mean, there's so much manufacturing history and depth with steel. What you can do with steel, how efficient you can get with the use of steel, it's incredible. Um, and that's another big reason, right? From a precision standpoint, these things come together really, really well. We've got these like floor to ceiling windows that look great and go truly right to the floor, right to the ceiling, very high end look and feel. All this comes down to precision, and steel is just it's much easier to work in that kind of precision with steel than with wood. I mean,
That's
wood just
interesting.
it works, right?
Yeah.
It expands and contracts based on
Mhm.
humidity. Steel also expands and contracts based on temperature. But it's much better overall in terms of dimensional stability than your wood.
That makes sense. I mean, we honestly we've seen a variety of stuff, and a lot of times, from a structural standpoint, we'll see components of steel in homes. But yeah, it's interesting you guys have that full perspective on all this stuff. Well, one of the other issues we've seen with steel, by the way, even though again we've seen it largely as a premium product, is I think I forgot when the price of steel went up a bunch over the last couple of years, but we've seen that actually being, a little bit of a factor in kind of costs variance. But yeah, that makes sense. In terms of one of the things we talked a little bit about right there is obviously you talked about the structural component, but you also talked about homes being fire safe, which is certainly a hot button and a lot of the West Coast right now. How do you think about making your homes fire safe as possible? And is that an emphasis for you all?
Yeah, it's so even if like it has been a concern for a while,
Right.
and even if we're not building in a wildfire urban interface zone,
Mhm.
um, we basically build them all the same. So
Yeah.
they're all meeting that extra layer of fire protection. The fact that the structure itself is steel and therefore like non-combustible, big,
Mhm.
right? The structure doesn't add fuel to the fire.
Right.
The other thing, though, I mean, if you really want to prevent the fire from even getting in, so the entire exterior is, I mean, you have the images here that are shown wood,
We're
and you
looking
can
at what
kind,
looks like cedar or something. Yeah.
yeah, it's not cedar, but
Yeah.
it's
Or plate.
rated.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's rated for a wildfire urban interface zone, but you can actually get this without the wood, just to say
Mhm.
it, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
an
for
option without the wood, like the wood
probably other
option.
cladding versions that like, you could do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you can do it without the wood, and then the entire if you look between the wood there, and
Yeah.
that's actually steel. So the whole exterior slab is steel. So that's one layer of protection.
Mhm.
And then the other thing is actually your windows. Your windows matter a lot because as
Yeah.
soon as if a fire gets in, it's kind of too late, right? Even
Yeah.
if your structure is steel, your couch might catch on fire, and then you've got tons of damage,
Mhm.
right? So our windows they're double paned,
Mhm.
they're argon filled, and they're both sides of the glass are tempered. So all of these things help with the fire resistance.
That makes sense.
And they're aluminum window frames too, which is
Mhm.
much better than vinyl when it comes to what temperature they'll melt at.
That makes sense. Um, I guess, and then I guess the other question is, one of the things is we see a lot of people who are very interested in sort of energy conservation um, on their homes. And honestly, California is fairly interested in that, at least cosmetically as well, in terms of like Title 24 and stuff like that. Yeah, are there specific elements of your homes that factor in those qualities as well?
Yeah, there's a lot there. The big thing is even though it is a steel structure, it's there's very little thermal bridging, and we've worked that into the design.
Hmm.
And so it's actually a very performant system.
Right.
We also use a ducted mini split.
Oh,
So
okay, that's interesting. But that's your standard. You
yeah,
don't do like radiant heat or
yeah, that's our standard. Yeah, we don't.
yeah.
Yeah,
We've done a lot of ski houses recently. I'm thinking.
yeah. I mean, it makes sense for a ski house, but
Yeah.
in Southern California, reading heat often
Right.
doesn't make sense, especially when you have really well insulated floors, which we
Totally.
do,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
So
So
you
our
use a mini split system, right?
Yeah, we use a ducted mini split system. So you don't see like it's not like the mini split you see on the wall. You don't see it. It looks
I
just like your
understand.
typical.
It's flat with whatever the ceiling or the wall.
Yeah, exactly. You will not know what it is
Mhm.
by looking at it, right? That really helps with efficiency. The windows have a low E coating, which helps. And then you see these little awnings. These are an optional upgrade.
Mhm.
But especially if you have like a southern exposure, a lot
Mhm.
of people will choose to put these awnings, which based on our analysis, can impact the energy by between 5 and 7% saving just from like those awnings,
Yeah, that makes sense.
right? So there's different features like that really help. And then we use an insulation which is nearly R7 per inch.
Mhm.
So really high performing insulation.
And are the panels you're shipping, are they basically like some version of SIPs, like kind of insulated panels that are, or is it like a different
They're,
technology?
they're our own panels. We make
Mhm.
them we make them here in our factory.
Mhm.
And they're kind of like SIPs with more, right? So they
Mhm.
have structure,
Mhm.
they've got the insulation. Sometimes they'll have plumbing and electrical,
Right, right.
and they'll have waterproofing
Mhm.
already installed from the factory and an exterior finish. So they're more than just SIPs, but it's kind of a continuation of that.
So you're shipping them with like when you say exterior finish, you mean like you actually have siding and stuff on?
Yes.
Oh wow. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So they come fairly complete. I mean, to be able to build a home like this, two bed, two bath, in 3 weeks, it's
Right.
it's got to be pretty complete from the factory.
Totally. That makes sense. Cool. What
Yeah.
else? So we're close to finishing up. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. Um, I guess so. What is your concentration right now? Basically, kind of focused on single family homes and ADUs in Southern California, or are there new
That's right.
things that we should like sort of look out for you all for the next year or so?
Right now, we are focused on single family homes and ADUs in Southern California, and we only expanded to Southern California last year,
Got it.
and we're very busy. So
Yeah,
I think we do plan to expand beyond Southern California. Just to say, we want to go national and then global, but with time, we want to really scale first within this market and
yeah,
then expand.
yeah. We see the three biggest markets that come to our website on like a city basis: Greater Southern California, Greater Northern California, and then actually Greater New York. It's not that we see like a ton of stuff within New York City, but like Hudson Valley and Hamptons, we see like a ton of people. And I think it's because those are high cost of living areas. So, right, like when we talked about your homes, right, $600 per square foot. If you're building in Mississippi, right, I understand it wouldn't be that if you had a Mississippi factory, might not seem as competitive, but I think, right, like people understand that sort of for the build quality in those markets, this actually represents like pretty good value.
No, no, it's true. It's like right now, those are. I mean, the markets where it makes sense to build this price point.
Yeah. Well, Alexis, it was such a pleasure talking to you. Definitely excited to when do you think your first single family home is going to go into the ground? Is that going to be soon?
We've already built a complete single family home in 2019. It was a small
Oh,
one, but
okay.
we built one in 2019. It's near Joshua Tree National Park.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah,
it's
that
actually
was
one
in
of the
Kansas City.
projects on this like projects page. So you
Okay.
can see the photos. So
Nice.
we've already built the first single family home, but we've got more in the permitting process. I think we're definitely going to see some built this year.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking. Just so everyone's clear, I believe the website is buildcover.com, cover build on Instagram, I think cover build on Twitter as well. Definitely, if you're in Southern California, you just sort of want to be inspired by where the sort of future of the stuff is going, check them out. And as always, you can check us out at prefabreview.com. Thanks again, Alexis.
Bye. Bye.